my dog sitting in jail.
The Bears are now on the clock.
Spin it back, roll. I'm on Keller, I'm on Bishop, I'm on Flat Shore. I'm at Magic, I'm at Polish, let them go. Then it's right back to the when I'm low. Bars never close and we wide open. Kicking flavor with me, neighbor, yeah.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
The bottom where we come from. Me no pray for little paper, need a lump sum. Real spill, yeah, a recipe, yeah. Broke, real, little rich. All in love with her. She just wanna be a VIP with her.
The 49ers are now on the clock. Pick's been made. Let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about the player.
He's one of the few receivers in college that no matter what sort of coverage you threw at him, he always came away with the ball. A great example is one of his impressive touchdown catches that has been on highlight reels ever since. It was late in the game, and the defense knew who the quarterback was going to target. He was surrounded by 3 defenders when his quarterback put the ball in the air, and even though he was completely swamped, somehow he managed to pluck the ball right over the defenders' heads. He isn't the biggest receiver, but he has the ability to stretch and make the play, essentially making him a larger and taller target and a real threat in the red zone. I think this team got a possible difference maker at receiver.
All right, let's go to Adam Schefter, who's got more on this pick.
This quarterback has garnered the reputation as being one of the more consistent passers in all of college football this season. He had a string of games where he averaged over 300 yards and at least 2 touchdown passes a game. According to Matt Miller, the big takeaway from his hot streak was that he played against varying levels of competition. No matter if it was some of the weaker defenses in college or some of the toughest, he tore apart their secondaries. He always plays at a high level and never sinks down to the level of his competition. We'll see if he can remain so consistent once he's playing on Sundays.
Get you paid, yeah. Rolling from the cradle to the grave, yeah.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. Quarter piece, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain.
Adam, what can you tell us about that last pick?
If there's one thing this defensive back is good at, it's the old bait the quarterback into throwing and picking it off trick. And he's not just good at it, he's great. He set the school record for interceptions in a season, and most of those interceptions happened when he baited the quarterback and forced him into poor decisions. He's also had his fair share of circus-style catches in tight coverage, the type of catches that even some receivers can't make. He may have a harder time picking off NFL quarterbacks, but his coverage ability is enough alone to warrant this team drafting him with this pick.
Yeah, that's him again. The sound that engine in is like a bird. You see fireworks and Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Use a hormones probably switch inside your DNA. Problem is, all that inside your DNA. Daddy probably snitch. Heritage inside your DNA. Backbone don't exist. Born on side a jellyfish, I gauge. See my pedigree, most definitely don't tolerate the front. Like been through probably offend you. This is parlors.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
Burners, boosters, ballers, dead, redemption, scholars, fathers, kids, and I wish I was fed forgiveness. Yeah. Soldier's DNA, born inside the beast. My expertise checked out in 2nd grade. When I was 9, on sale motel, we didn't have nowhere to stay. At 29, I've done so well, hit cartwheel in my estate.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Social extrovert, and excellent meaning extra work, and absentness you hurt, and passiveness never struck my nerve, and that's a riff gonna be this case. The reason my power's here on earth, salute the truth and the prophecy. I got loyalty, got royalty inside
this is
my
why
DNA.
I say that hip-hop has done more damage to young African-Americans in recent years.
Our very own Adam Schefter has more to say about this pick.
He flashed 2 things at the combine that immediately got everyone's attention. He flashed both straight line speed and the ability to turn on a dime without losing a step. But what he also did was impress each team with his football knowledge and personality during interviews. One GM in particular told me that he had a rare ability to draw up schemes and coverages as if he had them memorized. The combination of his speed and knowledge of the game made him one of the more coveted defensive backs in this year's draft. He should become a young leader for this defense in no time at all.
Fakes, phone never own. I don't conversate, I don't compromise. I just penetrate money. These are the breaks, these are the times. Level number 9.
The Jets are now on the clock.
Send us on the way, on the way. I got winners on the way. You ain't without a on your belt. You ain't without a ticket on your plate. You ain't sick enough to put it on yourself. You ain't rich enough to hit the ladder skate. Tell me when destruction gonna be my fate. Gonna be a fate, gonna be a fate. Peace to the world, let it rotate. Money, DNA.
Yeah. Pulling up with the crew.
Oh my goodness.
Must have done same with the roof.
Oh my goodness.
You sitting looking stupid on the stoop.
Oh my goodness.
I would take notes if I were you.
Oh my goodness.
This was designed with the stars, the square and the cross, so we know true north.
Oh my goodness.
Smiling with 50 carats in my jaw.
Oh my goodness.
The law, it's a shame, rhyme, crime. It's a shame they let us jump out of Bentleys with dirty vans. Hit the stage for 15 minutes, get 30 bands. Swiss bank counting clean money with dirty hands. With some hood that's ready to with the. Since I came in, it made my name a name brand. French. Paris clubbing like a caveman. We threw up the pyramids, now they say we Illuminati. I'm a tsunami, what the is a little yachty. No blood diamonds, I rock gold like a king. Jury so cold, made them blow the nose off the Sphinx. You think I'ma be some type of role model? I go full throttle, desperado, that's the motto. Vic in Chicago, it's you have at the grotto. Brazilian model, she mean mugging like Frida Kahlo. Drinking it with an Alicia Machado. I'm the ticket, you just hit the lotto. Pulling up with the crew.
Oh my goodness.
Must have done same with the roof.
Oh my goodness.
You sitting looking stupid on the stoop.
Oh my goodness.
I would take notes if I were you.
Oh my goodness.
This was designed with the stars, the square and the cross, so we know true north.
Oh my goodness.
Smiling with 50 carats in my jaw.
Oh my goodness.
The law, it's a shame, rhyme. Young Vic, the diamonds, the finest. I shine like puff shine.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Top off the Mozzie, my behavior is mindless. On kids, we major, you mindless. Fresh out the cell to the booth, drop the roof. I'm still in the hood, tell, shoot. Hope with a club. The judge, you rappers is false flagging, you a fashion. What's cuz, what you know about? What's Velo? Why Barry leave your head ringing? Free Vic Mensa, I'm a star, chain swinging. This that.
The Lions are now on the clock.
I'm ball mayin' without paying. Y'all playing, we playing. My Himalayan. The lotto, that's a sacrificial lamb. I'm season cam, no matter blam. Pulling up with the crew.
Oh my goodness.
Must have done same with the roof.
Oh my goodness.
You sitting looking stupid on the stoop.
Oh my goodness.
I would take.
The Rams are now on the clock.
This was designed with the stars, the square and the cross, so we know true north.
Oh my goodness.
Smiling with 50 carats in my jaw.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The law, it's a shame, rhyme, crime.
Every other night I'm outside with the. You ain't got chips. The world, you got chips. You could the next man's girl.
The Saints are now on the clock.
Part my world. The way Kiss told it should never be misquoted. That you wave on the camera, we've been toting. Selling love potion my whole rap career. So your streams and downloads could never match the kids. We could go foreign until it's boring. My sheep will keep jumping the fence until you're snoring. Street poetry, I'm more Wale.
The Saints pick. Let's go to Adam with more on Harrison.
When I ask scouts around the league what his biggest asset is, they always point to his father. His dad is a high school coach that knows how to consistently finish in the top of the school's division. And ever since he was able to walk, he's been on the sidelines for every game. Even after he leaves practice at night, he's still getting advice from his dad at home. And from what I've heard from scouts who watched him play, you can tell the extra coaching has helped. Even during interviews at the Combine, I was told by several GMs that he was one of their favorite players to talk to. He has his dad's eye for the game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him become a coach one day himself. I like him a lot, and he'll be a great addition to the team.
The Chiefs pick is in. Let's go to Adam with more on Jacobs.
The foundation of any good team starts up front, and here's a guy who's a franchise's dream come true. GMs I talked to pointed to several of his games in college where he took on some of the nation's best defensive linemen, going toe-to-toe with them for 60 minutes of brutal trench combat and dominating them. He's going to be able to protect a franchise quarterback in addition to opening up holes for the run game. With size, speed, and strength, he should have a very successful NFL career.
Been about to put a mansion on the beach, 100 Latins in your lobby. That's what happens when you're around with body. And I put that.
All right, team is now off the clock. Adam Schefter, can you tell us about their newest player?
He's a Heisman-winning defender. Let me say that one more time. He won the Heisman, and he's a defensive player. Need I say more? You can imagine how well he played this season to win the biggest award in college over several offensive playmakers. The trophy was well-deserved, and according to Matt Miller, he projects really well as a defender in the NFL. I think this is a home run pick, and it's great to see a defender get some well-deserved recognition.
Breathe for a minute. White Range Rover, ball in it. You gotta, baby, shake that, shake that, shake that. You gotta, baby, shake that, shake that.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
Got 2 shows, I'm about to pitch another. Throwing alley-oops to my brothers. We all shine, nobody victims. I'm on these sweatsuits. Black Pippins, I swag different. That's why the money in the bag different. Come up short, you left your fam. I lay on beaches and swerving whips. You ain't serving, you just.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Every day, get, ride around Queens on the jet ski, it's me. Every day, get, to the day I die. Every day, get, man, I that. And I that, bouncing up and down, nearly broke.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Just let me breathe for a minute, just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover, ball in it. Let me breathe for a minute. Just let me breathe for a minute, man. Just let me breathe for a minute. White Range Rover, ball in it.
The Packers made their selection. For more about him, let's go to Adam Schefter.
He's been the subject of a fair amount of controversy after a mediocre season that culminated with one of the most impressive final games a defensive lineman has ever enjoyed. Critics claim he was the beneficiary of a tired offensive line, while his proponents cite an incredible swim and rip move that complement a powerful bull rush as the recipe to his success. If he struggles in the NFL and proves his critics right, it'll be interesting to see how much patience his new team has to watch him develop before moving in a different direction.
Now that the Texans have made their pick, let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more.
He looked like a man among boys at the All-Star game. Facing off against one of the better blockers in the draft, he was able to get pressure and was in the quarterback's face all day. And at least twice, he knocked the offensive lineman on his backside, finishing the play with a sack. Matt Miller came away impressed by more than just his aggressive play style. A lot of his pressures came from pure effort and proper use of his hands to shed the blocker. He was the difference maker in the All-Star game, and the team noticed.
No way, yeah. They ones and they here to stay, yeah. I heard these always hating, said I never make it. I heard these always talking with them. It's okay.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
It's okay, yeah. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me cause he's on me. It's okay, yeah. It's okay, yeah.
I heard he tryna lie me, but I ain't no dummy. It's okay, though, got it.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Ring and now I feel unlucky. Hey, she love my diamond ring, she said she wanna touch it. It's okay, I get 30K just to hit the stage. Hit my Michael J. I get cake, I cannot complain. Been finessing since I was a kid. In the 2nd grade, selling lemonade. Get paid, hold up, wait, can I get paid?
The Colts are now on the clock.
Feel like I'm in space. See a snake, kill a snake, get paid. Get left every day, so get your straight.
I heard he's always hating, said I never make it. I heard he's always talking with them.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I already mad.
The Texans are now on the clock.
Already mad at me, goody told me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Mad cause I'm trying to feed my family. Why I gotta watch a friend more than an enemy? I had to stun on the dad I'm supposed to stunt with. Had to cut you off, you was on some done.
The Bills are now on the clock.
Why you hate on me? They say success turn your friends to some enemies. That is crazy. Cause it's shining now you act shady. Yeah, but I guess it's okay. My mama told me you would show me your ways. Yeah, but I gotta check with him. I had the band.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Diamonds on me look like He's always hating, said I'll never make it. He's always talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. He's mad at me cause I'm getting money. He's mad at me goody on me. It's okay, it's okay.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
I'm a running man. Sandals slipping off my feet on the sand. Counting up the bills with my dominant hand. Yo, choose up. Take this, appreciate it. This too. If I tear up the rim shot. I'm going.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
My G.I. Joe present, I've yet to see a Cobra. So off my rocker, got me sipping club soda. Some bombs never go off, some stars never blow up. I'm pitching in, never in the dugout. Reaching in my and I can't take a head count. Flashback, 03, things was looking run down. Now I set foot in the place, it's a loop.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Y'all know how we get down, house with the fence around. Y'all know that we en route. Transition from the Impala to the Fisker. I should charge admission for that to get the dessert. Left the doors up, now the Lambo has pigtails. Since you getting comfy, I'ma let you sit there. I'ma let you stay there. When I shed a tear, they didn't have
The Panthers are now on the clock.
retail. I brought some cause you say you want sick. If you love sick in the room, you best get well. Every dog has its day. What the no tuck? Sway Lee, Winter Magazine, double XL. Floss with your Gucci on. Dipped in colors burst on the cars and the jewels. I'm a one.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Like they got a spray tan. When I was without, not a helping hand. I got some guys that throw it back and make me drop the cans. I told Ben Frank just to drop a pin. I could let my fit go to the highest bid. Yes, I might drop in. It all depends. Junior high, I was dreaming of a 10.
The Giants are now on the clock.
My girl be serving looks. I can chef. Katana sword popping out my walking cane. I'm overseas, my Cali Bay like how was Spain. We getting to the money and you having issues. I bought a and it came with a wetsuit. The Buddha left me without breath. I really am.
The Browns are now on the clock.
She be hoping that I take a knee. Yes, I be open to that shrimp life. This is how we live, this is how we exist. Love the kicks and we love the hits. All in the house and I'm wrecking. If I sleep, I'm a wrecking. I'm in my own world, throw the money.
The Jets are now on the clock.
Mommy playing. Tether on leather. Money talk, it's a lecture. 80-pointers dance on me, it's electric. Don't hate, I'm still unaffected. Chipper on my shoulder, I move undetected. She said, pop the question got deflected. Man, that made my boy, then my brethren. Let's cut to the chase. It's only on the house when we in the place. My used to lava boys got it up in some flames. Stirring up the cup with my wrist souffle. Shaka Zulu chains with my name engraved. I told you on swing, don't say my name in vain. We bring it to your door like, you rang? Spending all the money, then we watch it boomerang. With the Fendi belt, angry face like, put some gold on my fingers That's what they say when they see me, man. I've been going crazy just to stay sane. Hey, your girl went missing, who's to blame? Young whippersnapper with a range. Pause, then I went to range. Call that hottie on my stage. Long week, but a great day.
Hold on now. This pick is trading teams.
And on me, you should get a raise. On me, yeah, you can hate.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
People tryna say I'm only in the me. Got a cold with my dogs, can't get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Man, amen.
The Lions are now on the clock.
I can't even lie. No way in, no way out, do or die. So on roll when I roll, must be. Amen, man. I can't ride Benz, I don't do peace. I beast, I gotta eat. Saber tooth, tiger, diamond tooth teeth.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Won't you come pink? I was outside. The way that shake, leave your mouth wide. You need to say grace for you say thanks. Amen, What's left in my life, don't know what's in store. I've been dealing with these blessings that I can't ignore. Putting up
the Steelers are now on the clock.
Amen. I be on the block, my side. Run it in the house for us 12 o'clock. Yeah, the hood love me, but you gotta watch. Amen. I just three, I don't do sleep. Yeah, trying to see.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Fall through, coming through deep. Amen. Yeah, packed it from the south, moved it to the west. Iced the logo on the cross, threw it on my neck. Yeah, when I rep the set, gotta stay blessed. Yeah, amen. People tryna say I'm only in the me.
The Bills are now on the clock.
Can get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen. Man, put him into me. Everybody try to take the identity. Everybody around me turn to a friend of me. Sit back while I take on the remedy. I cannot let it get into me. This playing a toll on me, meant to me.
All right, now that the pick's in, let's go to Adam. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
No receiver had a rougher outing at the All-Star game than he did. Even though he was targeted plenty of times throughout the game, he came away with a giant 0 on the stat sheet. When I asked Matt Miller what the issue was, he told me there were several problems. For one, he never seemed to build chemistry with the quarterbacks on the roster. The timing of the throws, in combination with his routes, made each pass a difficult one to bring in. He also seemed to be the most tightly covered receiver, even though they cycled through different defenders each drive. He had a difficult time adjusting to the faster play and rarely got separation from the corner to make an open field grab. Regardless of his issues, the fact that he was drafted tells me the team wasn't concerned with his play at the All-Star game. Maybe a little consistency is all he needs.
What you want to do now? Little baby, pass. Don't spill on me, that's Margella. Got this Oakland game to tell her. She look familiar. At Coachella, what's her name? Isabella, forget it, yeah.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Weekends go, trying to function, got some places we can go. Lockjaw got me speaking slow like, yeah, I'm blessed. I don't GA, I'm trying to, yes on yes. Say less. Say less.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
You ain't go. Say less. Yeah. Say less. Hey girl, what it do? If you got friends, cool, bring a few through. No fun if the homies, man, R.I.P. Nate Dogg, this too true. And you know what I'm down for. Round 2, round 3, and a round 4. Move switch when she knocked at the front door. Next up was the
Now that the Ravens have made their pick, let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about him.
Scouts I've talked to expressed a great deal of frustration with his inconsistent play throughout the season, saying it made it near impossible to evaluate him in 11-on-11 situations. Even with this being said, there was significant interest in the big tight end, many believing that with the right coaching and confidence building, he could develop into a dominant player. This pick is a bit of a gamble, with the hope being a clean slate can help him exercise the demons that prevented him from reaching his full potential in college.
I understand. I'm out my mind, I popped. Sheesh, I swear this lock shot got me stuttering. Girl, you not fall in love again.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
My favorite rush. You talkative, ain't gotta say too much. Be quiet. Who got some grapes? I'm trying to. I'm all ball for these. Get it. Not complicated. No conversation. Get it.
Let's go to Adam now, who's got more on the Chargers' last pick.
Well, he had a brief scare in the offseason, and I'm sure it scared a few teams out there as well. The combine ended abruptly for him after an undisclosed heart condition was discovered during a routine medical exam. Officials held him out of workouts and asked that he consult a specialist. Unable to perform any drills, he did stay at Indy and interviewed with each team. Following the combine, he visited a specialist and had surgery to correct the issue. I spoke with his agent, who was confident that it was an abnormal circumstance, and he assured me it wouldn't affect his play. Clearly, the GM was not concerned with this incident either.
The Bears are now on the clock.
You ain't no say less.
Yeah.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Crashing so the sparks can come together. Don't need a reason why the universe was made. It goes on and on and on and on forever.
And it's a long flight on this battle star where we fight for love no matter where we are.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
In this universe, and it makes me feel like the gold I work.
The Colts are now on the clock.
Honey, I'm feeling with you. Baby, you're flashing, and I'm blinded by your light. I love the way you Jupiter was rising. You got me reacting like a lunar tonight. I love the way the stars are all aligning. You got me like ooh.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
You got me like You got me like and ooh, with all the things you do. Yeah, anything and everything I make you feel. Well, honey, I'm feeling with you. You got me like ooh,
The Bills are now on the clock.
The road spinning like a satellite.
Bills just made their pick. Adam, what can you tell us about him?
He was always a player who cared about academics, and that couldn't have been made any more clear when he decided to forego his senior season in order to take on more classes. His goal was to graduate before entering the NFL draft, and at the sacrifice of his final year of football eligibility, he was able to pull it off. The decision left some experts scratching their heads, but guys like Matt Miller saw it as a smart move to stay injury-free and remove the distraction of getting his diploma once he went pro. At least with a degree, he has a backup job now in case this whole football thing doesn't work out for him.
The Panthers are now on the clock. Raiders are now on the clock.
As we go on, like we do, when it's hot outside, I wanna just chill with you, what you need.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
There's a little sunshine in the summer breeze. Oh, yes, baby, if you feel the same, let me know. If you feel the same, then let me know. Yes, I do.
Seahawks pick is in. Adam, give us the latest information on this guy.
Midseason struggles look to have doomed his draft prospects as he put up lackluster numbers in several consecutive games. As a result of his consistent poor play, several scouts decided not to show up for his pro day. When word of this reached draft experts like Matt Miller, he began free-falling in several influential mock drafts. Scouts that decided to attend his pro day were treated to a show of sheer athleticism. They saw a player that looked like he had a chip on his shoulder, one scout even telling me that seeing the negative media attention may have been the wake-up call he needed to take his game to the next level. He now will have the opportunity to prove his doubters wrong in the NFL. Part of me wonders whether or not he'll play with the same passion and intensity once the doubters are silenced.
There's a little sunshine in the summer breeze. Oh, yes, baby, if you feel the same, let me know. If you feel the same.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Yes, I do. What you got to lose?
Shined up my white walls, night falls. I'm feeling good. I'm doing things that you never would, like surfing with the sharks or shooting in the dark, riding on a bike with my grandson at the park. Evolve while I elevate.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Breakfast for dinner. I'm cold as but summer ain't the winter. Finna, bender, Kona, on a 3-wheel motion. I'm headed to the ocean. Caravan full of cars, neighborhood stars. Up the boulevard we go till we can't go no more. It's me and mine, it's summertime. You go off and we go off.
Let's go to Adam Schefter now, who's got more to say about the Dolphins' latest pick.
Showing up to the combine overweight and then turning in a subpar performance caused him to plummet in several mocks leading up to the draft. Most of the scouts I spoke with could not understand how this kid could let himself go as he neared the most important day of his playing career. This led to several others questioning his mental integrity, willpower over food, and passion for the game. I can only imagine his new team will have him on a plane tonight to meet with its nutritionist and strength and conditioning team, likely to get him into a regimented routine within a week. When in shape, he's the kind of player that can make a true impact at the NFL level, but he has to avoid eating himself out of the league, a trap that so many rookies have fallen into in the past.
Legging with Nick, we dump it off like V. Ramonovic. Sorry, homie, you know we not friends, it's off of politics. Politicians never get to see who really run it. Now you know who run it. You rappers on punishment. Papa dog, they be lying on they brother. Everybody scared a little linky man is evident.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Talking about millions of mother. 301 screaming 4-4 on my Louis. Papa tags by the mode. Don't they dummy? Pretty much for a gold. Black and yellow with the boots and the gold suit. We had a go-go last week. We don't really care who got last week. Riding under me, the blog and really bumping me.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
With a GD, CPG, I'm the king of the streets. I never had to struggle when it to a beef. Always 10 toes, so it's hard to defeat. And trust me, I've been looking hard for a beef, huh? He ain't rapped this hard in a long time. You street, all Vita dudes and dies. Homie, always say to the guys on my life, been addicted to
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Ain't no fear, I'm never willing, put the up in you. Ain't no telling when we do it, we just couldn't get you. Got a bad thing, it ain't lie. Why, with some keep my wide, north side, bumping north with a deck. When I was a baby, I was wildin' for respect. You gon' get your with the set. Around here and talk crazy, you get we ran.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Wonder why young Licky never had a fear. Say it once, say it twice, you gon' get peace. Anybody ever ask what happened with the bleach? Running from they almost had me wanna slip. Way back at home, I started, yeah. Around the same time, bumping to your versatile. I ain't know who went harder, made me wanna celebrate. Now we in the game and I'm so busy from the pain.
The Rams are now on the clock.
I don't give a about, man, yeah, change. And let your style and I need my change. DMV, I'm a the year. Legging with my fears. Rapping, but I'm quiet when I'm near. I'm always plotting on the bitches and I'm plotting on my fears. We don't need no checks from the boys. We just need respect from the boys.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
So I just get the little re-drilling with the boys, yeah.
The Jets are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock.
You know, I'm like, yeah, nice P, you know?
What up, Pink?
Man.
When I pull up, they notice me. Come and talk to me like Jodeci. But don't you be too close to me. Them goons you see, let it go for me. I bring them things, I bring them things. I call them, he bring them things. Mucho, I bring them things. Looking so expensive.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
I bring them things. I bring them things. I bring them things.
Man, you don't want with them, bro. Oh, you, and it better get low. Extorting, you ain't got no friends. Oh, they'll be for that like a.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Rainbow, $1,000. This ain't your cloth. You ain't, that ain't no sauce. I can see the noodles made for poodles. I'm thinking about the La Ferrari coupe. 1.8, the option is the roof. Greens is a secret to the youth. Your goals are malnourished.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
I be laden, yes. Y'all be aping. I'm Richard Mill Nation. No diamonds, just tourbillon facing with gears and sprockets with the sapphire casing.
When I pull up, they notice me. Come and talk to me like Jodeci. But don't you be too close to me. Them goons you see, let it go for me.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
Bring them things. I call them, he bring them things. Mucho, I bring them things. Looking so expensive, rings and things. I bring them things. I bring them things. I bring them things.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Had to show Carlito I was Benny Blanco.
Check it out.
Raindrop, offset. Plug, we the outlet. Shot put me in the box, I'm in the box off. All the face shorty, socks off. Mac Miller, Reggie Miller, the killer, Canaries, back stiller, White Villa.
The Bears are now on the clock.
Fresh vanilla, garage like a kill him south. Lauren Hilla, get up. Crib Calabasas on the hill. I had him morning, plate. Beatles on the red carpet. Alcatraz bars, crash cars, ain't no future in front. My homies rip your mask off.
When I pull up, they notice me. Coming.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
But don't you be too close to me. Them goons you see, let it go for me. I bring them things, I bring them things. I call them, he bring them things. Mucho, I bring them things. Looking so expensive, rings and things. I bring them things.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
I bring them things.
I go out for my squad and I put that on. Squad? All I got is my word and my word is my bond. Squad?
Let's go to Adam now, who's got more on the 49ers' latest pick.
His draft stock took a hit at his pro day when he failed to look natural in any of the drop back and ball reaction drills. As Matt Miller put it, It looked like the sun was in his eyes every time he turned around to look for the ball. Sometimes the receiver would break to the right, but he would go to the left too many times. Think with enough coaching, he can sharpen his ability to play in single coverage. We'll see if he becomes a starter at some point down the line for this team.
I really do. I'm kicking up the rent is due. Plus I got my mama and my kiddies too. They growing up. Time is moving faster. What we wasting for? No holding back. Got a lot to prove. I owe you that we all we got. I go out for my squad.
The Bills are now on the clock.
All I got is my word, and my word is my bond. Yeah, they gon' look at you different when you moving forward. Shoulders, but just stick to the code. You get yours, I get mine.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
How we got this far, even when the pressure's on, finesse is strong. Plus I got my team around me heavy, ain't no extra bros. You can keep them, Giuseppe's on delusional. Who gon' be there for you if you lose it all? Question that, who gon' have your mama back, Think about it, it's so much more to life, take it.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Stack this paper and be alright. We gon' run it, keep on finish on sight. I go out for my squad and I put that on squad. All I got is my word, and my word is my bond.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Different when you moving forward. But just stick to the code. You get yours, I get mine.
The Raiders are now on the clock. The Seahawks are now on the clock. The Jaguars are now on the clock.
Polo to the flow though. You already know though. It's Adamville for real. You see ya, just take a photo. I'm reppin' as on photo with a on your bro though.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Oh no, also Allen Temple, also England Mountain, also Misty Valley, and I got a couple yesterday out of Cali. And my bag from the valley bought me brand new balance. And I'm playing with a no American dream, dusty road. Man, she been riding since her daddy.
The Giants are now on the clock.
Every hoe telling every I ain't with my wife, but if she meet her, might be a go. Rick flat flashing. Don't I look dashing? Don't I look classy? Don't act so sassy. I'm the man, boo. That's with or without you. With what your say. Show me what that.
The Browns are now on the clock.
I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say it's lonely at the top, but this the best. Hey, don't you see me out here shining, barely flexing? I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address.
The Jets are now on the clock.
This the best. And even if we die today, gon' live forever. Live forever.
Daddy pants ain't with 3 X's. Take the X's, no X's on my chest, but all these diamonds got me blessed. Usually I don't do this. Dumb it down, go stupid. Since 17, been counting M's, my bank account's on goofy. Say, gave up. Now who know what the truth is? Chicago full of, my garage is full of hoop. This got that southern drawl and all that. My like ball bags. Besides, got something to say. And
The Vikings are now on the clock.
if I ain't a hot boy, then what do you call sacks? Daddy fat, y'all never ball back. Like clocks in the wintertime, we stay eating like it's dinner time. Been feasting and feasting and feast big, but it ain't no rhyme. We don't know the meaning of drought, cause we keep it so wet, boy, I swear now it's been a while. Just speaking in general, boy, there is no formidable opponent or at that bone that never.
The Lions are now on the clock.
You wanna mind the kind of giving hope when they down and out. Dig a hole so deep, ain't no climbing out.
Yeah, I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say lonely at the top, but it's the best. Don't you see me?
The Rams are now on the clock.
I hear him talking reckless. I won't even stress. Just kill him softly with my press. Won't even address. They say lonely at the top, it's the best. And even if we die today, don't live forever. Live forever.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Yo, listen, just like I told Coco, my vision is you already know though. So go, slow, back my logo.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
Yo, listen, just like I told Coco, my vision is you already know though. So go, slow, back my logo, for show, Coco. Now get down on it.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
I look up. So many. Oh my God. So many.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Yeah. What you telling me? I sense the jealousy, I got telepathy, I got the recipe, I got the streets and I don't got no felony. Forward thinking, yeah, my mind is ahead of me. Mama said it's gonna be whatever you let it be. It's some homies I grew up with that's dead to me. It's some that I just made a debt to me. What's in common is they both pay respect to me. I get in my way from Friday to Friday. My girl is a mix of Aaliyah and Sade. I came a long way from
the Titans are now on the clock.
I'm in the car chase speeding, and if my she know I'm leaving. No text, no call, but at airplane mode. Code, no P code, no time to change clothes. Same clothes, love if you're living by the same code. G code, leave. You do that to me, back to my destiny. Penthouse, bird's eye view, that's a nest for me. I got myself out of debt, so when you see me, know you.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
Hungry, my appetite is. Yeah. I cut the drama out my energy. Focus on it, inner me, never on it, enemy. And I done sacrificed my own time. I done sacrificed my own mind. I done sacrificed the club life. I done sacrificed my love life. But I cut the drama out my energy.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
On it, enemy. And I done sacrificed my own time. I done sacrificed my own mind. I done sacrificed the club life. I done sacrificed my love life.
Also, I done sacrificed the thug life. Diamond shining, ain't no dull light. Drop my top to get my mind right. Pull up in the Rari loud pipe. Them the dime, my wrist a Hyundai. Ooh, yeah, Gucci Python. Ooh, yeah, she play with her. Yeah, I bought
the Packers are now on the clock.
Come see about me. Come on, come see me. The devil had entered my soul. My mama had beat it out. The devil, my mama. Remember, my grandma had told me you better be somebody. Hop in my seats, massaging. Watch how I lead the posse. I made an M deposit.
Paid all these dudes with the game. Yeah. Sacrifice your strides for that stain. Sacrifice. Heard you sacrifice.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
She sacrificed that money for white. Left hand got 3 rings. That's brum. We up one. Bad. savage. Take her to the mall and buy her something. That's gonna wanna make your friends come. Make way with the timing. Tell me, why can't y'all?
The Texans are now on the clock.
We all came from sacrifice. Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice? 10 toes, yeah, you gotta stay down, eh? Just some yawn, looking for a way out, eh? People watching, yeah, I gotta skip town, eh? Hit my phone.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Sacrifices. So many sacrifices. Straight up. I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices.
The Bears are now on the clock.
That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah. I know my great auntie was a slave. I could only imagine all the sacrifice she made. I could only imagine all that she had to take. I'ma make sure all the she gave wasn't in vain. I sacrificed for your entertainment, boy, I'm Mr. Anderson.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Facts in the human race, it's all about pacing. Look at all the ones I outlasted. I'm the one at the end like I count backwards. Never satisfied, details classified till the afterlife. Make a sacrifice down.
Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice? Why can't y'all recognize
The 49ers are now on the clock.
from sacrifice?
Honorable C note.
Yeah, little fish. I say, Lord, be my savior when it come to getting this paper. Please protect me from my haters. Just say me and I won't save us. Say amen. That boys in that game win.
The Colts are now on the clock.
Win it, we gonna. Gonna. Did it like my persona. Gonna. Remember them was honest. We was the drug them hardest. Then we pull up in the furnace. Glow up. Walking. Show up. Baby, hold up. Glow up.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Glow up. Yeah. I'm laughing to the bank. All new blue Benny Franks. Pulled up on him in the tank. Yeah, that guy just a rap guy. I'm so mad fly in, he ain't. Let me back, I gave me until I was going on Miami. They all cornballs.
The Bills are now on the clock.
I hear. Get a plan.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Just say me and I won't save us. Say amen. That boys in that game win. Check. Gonna. Win it, we gonna. Gonna. Did it like my persona. Gonna. Remember them was honest. We was the drug them hard.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Glow up. Walking. Show up. Baby, hold up. Glow up. Boys, don't touch. We flow. Glow up. She lucky. Cause she 5 mil cash in Tucky. I walk up.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
I hang with the demons. They don't play by me. We cut. I was coolin'. Atlanta. Mixed with the fan up. All them. I got Santa. I go monkey. All that. Gonna do just what I say. Pull up.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
She's so bad, but she said. I feel guilty. I might as well just plead my case. I say, Lord, be my savior when it come to getting this paper. Please protect me from my haters. Just say me and I won't save us. Say amen. That boys in that game win. Check.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Gonna. Did it like my persona. Gonna. Remember them was honest. We was the drug them hardest. Then we pull up in the furnace. Glow up. Walking. Show up. Baby, hold up. Glow up. Boys, don't touch. We flow.
The Panthers are now on the clock. The Steelers are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock.
Oh, you gotta hit the ground. Ain't no chain gonna hold me down. Dig deep, feel the burn. I've got a calling, so watch and learn. I heard a voice of this broken hymn saying, "I'm not, this is who I am." I know you ain't there yet. Don't stop to catch your breath. You're going high.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Let go, set me free. Got the streets, all I need. We're going high.
The Jets are now on the clock.
Boom, boom, can you feel the flame? Hold on, I can make it rain. Oh, do you hear the thunder? Don't let it bring you down. Look up and see the light. You're not alone, don't give up like that. Oh yeah, got a ways to go. Break that wall, let the spirit flow. I know you ain't there yet. Don't stop to catch your breath. You're going high, 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 high. Let go, set me free. Got the streets, all I need. We're going high, 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 high.
The Patriots are now on the clock. The Lions are now on the clock.
You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the U. Man, know that I kick up the U. Them boy dead.
The Rams are now on the clock.
To stop the truth, look, you're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the U. Man, know that I kick up the U. Them boy dare try to stop the truth. How dare you to stop the truth? Wanna come round there like a bad boy, do it. Want all the talking, go on and do it. Running through the party, but look, rolls on my ears.
The Saints are now on the clock.
I don't lack, getting with the business, I don't scrap. Even when I'm bar, I'm so easy right, but there's no car and no match. What you talking about? Clown, stand down, never had a thing, never had a pound. You were never bad then, you ain't bad now, never had them, then look back down. Wait, I saw bare kicks, saw bare clothes. Said not that, I can't wear those. I don't like them, they're not my thing. They went silent, they're all weirdos.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
Man, them I can't be, you see my don there. Tell them don't do it, don't dare. Don't care who you know from my block. You're not Al Capone, they can take my car and my creps. I'll still do the road in my socks. Like who's gonna stop me? You, him, little man. I got blue slims. Don't be an idiot, move smart. I've been killing it, new king. You were never ready for my new stuff.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Crep went states for the BTs. I was covering crep like a boot cut. If mad, it's a family ting, straight family ting. Dumb man, I bro, no salary ting. Had a young ting called Amy telling me to come round hers on a Valerie ting. Hashtag Murky Academy ting. You were like art and the gallery ting. Dumb boy there wanna chat about bars, wanna chat about. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for
the Buccaneers are now on the clock.
Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Them boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look, I'm too hot. I got money in my shoebox. I'm the man of the house when my show sold out like the brother from the Boondocks. Beat Swan in my boombox. Still meat from the stew pot. Man,
the Seahawks are now on the clock.
Not a hoopla. What? Pronounce it right. I got magic, I'm down to die for this. I don't care, bro, I'm down. Man stress, so I'm bound to lie my slips. Wait, I'm bound to ride for flips. Real G's gonna ride around to this. Man, I got no time to write at this. I never left my 9 to 5 for this waste man thing. I don't care what rave man's in. I came here to relax, but if it gets mad, make a young boy take.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
Too big to rebel. Nah, man, you're never too big to rebel. I was in the O2 singing my lungs out rude, but you're never too big for Adele. Leave my yard, blow a kiss to my girl. Salute to my sister as well. Gotta keep trophies down at my mum's bit. Man, I'm getting way too big for my shelf. Man, I see bare MCs on the sideline, but I still got a couple bangs in the pipeline. Man, I got grown men at me. You're getting way too old for the timeline. You're getting.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Looked after your kids. Get out the booth, go home to your son. It's never too late to commit. It's like man love, put my name in a random flag, get a plane to Qatar. This year I learned how to take care of business. Next year I'll learn how to play the guitar. You're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man,
the Ravens are now on the clock.
Try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth? Look, you're getting way too big for your boots. You're never too big for the boot. I got the big size toes on my feet. Your face ain't big for my boots. Kick up the you. Man, know that I kick up the you. Them boy there try to suck the truth. How dare you to suck the truth?
The Eagles are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.
A king is born. I told you before. A king is born. Now I told you before. A king is born. Oh yeah.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
Like a beast in the jungle, in the heat of the rumble, I ain't got nothing to lose. Hey, I've been fighting these hard times.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Now it's victory that I choose. Yes, my soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
My crown and throne is lifted. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend, legend. Like a bull in a glass house. No bull about to smash out. Can't nothing stand in my way. I don't care what the place is.
The Bears are now on the clock.
The pavement, you better hear what I say. Hey, yeah. Yes, my soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
My crown and throne is lifted. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend, legend. King is born. Yeah, I told you before. Yeah, a king is born.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
I told you before. I am the truth now. The truth has spoken. A king is born.
Colts are now on the clock.
Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown and throne is lifted. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend.
The Packers are now on the clock.
Is born. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got
The Bills are now on the clock.
patient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would. I still wish them well, yeah. Put my problems in. Only check up when the checks come. My pockets looking blessed up.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Stressed up. They talking like they jealous of me. They talking like they never love me. They talking like they next door. I still treat them like son. Showers on the way. I've been working 25 hours.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
With the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Yo. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah. Promises and wishes, candles for my exes now. Ain't no fingers let to count my blessing now. Promises.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Different now. No rings for the teams, I go missing now. Promises and wishes. Why would I ever start celebrating? Why would I ever start celebrating? I'm naming all the hearts I've been breaking. I'm naming all the hearts I've been breaking.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Working 25 hours every day. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Yo. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
I still wish them well, yeah. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to give me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah.
The Raiders are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock.
I done came up, busting down the whole broke, it's that bag. Want your people swag, you ain't even gotta ask.
The Browns are now on the clock.
Please don't touch my rap. Please don't touch my rap. I'm racked up like rappers. I'm wrapped up on camera. Get out on camera. Squeeze like asthma. It's rare wrath when I wear wrath. Bear wrath when I wear wrath. Might invest into some rap shit. Lord, still shit rap. And I'm dripping on rags. We're gonna be
The Jets are now on the clock.
Yeah, I'm boasting, never brag. Please don't touch my rap. Or the Chris Finn Nash. Alessandra Gucci glasses. The W Anderson collab. Yeah, you probably like it. Yeah, you drop it on the. I'ma buy another. Cause boys bring it back. Yeah, you know how to make it laugh. Plus and keeping tabs. I'ma fly first class. Quavo hit him with it. Please don't touch my rap.
Don't step on my Russ Simmons. Don't step on my Russ Simmons. don't step on my Ralph Simmons. Do you know how much I'm spending? My closet, it worth about $1 million. Took the look up the runway, in the kitchen. Ralph Simmons, all kind of crazy colors, living color, left wrist, roll it, ice. Make some Margiela my sweater. Mama told me never settle. Ralph Simmons, don't lace him. Got your wanna.
Huh? Wait, don't wanna talk about the paper. I swear to God, these be haters. They be hating, I feel out of. Live in cul-de-sac, don't get along. Ooh, right with my neighbors. Diamonds on my neck and roll it on. Now I later got underbit flavors. I'm with my lifesaver. Ooh, feel like Darth Vader. I'm a boss, you know I might riff it. Ooh, right in my basement. Yeah. But you know that I'm gon' face it. Wait, that's the reason that they mad. Color Uzi, yeah, he made it. Yeah, I would that rapper, I made it. Yeah, I would that rapper, I made it. Yeah, got that rap all in my basement. Yeah. Once I got patience. Yeah, I'm famous. Yeah.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Making a place with my label. I get it, I count it. 100 on my table.
Stolen silver laser. Rubies red, my skin too black to blush, too red to tint, not pages. This ain't on the wizard up. Pockets full of mint lead. Been smelling like it brushed tea. Say cheese, see the porcelain.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Raph dragging on the floor. In it. I'm torching the road in these Gucci flames. Stuck to the pavement, they glued. I'm 2.5 million in the venue and 2,500 a tube. Cold like I'm sick with the flu. I cover my face and I'm spring summer 2000.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Yeah, please don't touch my ride. In the grass, Teddy, with the Teddy. Quick with the hands ready. Please don't touch my ride. Shirt off, I'm Cam, ready. Dead stock in memory. Please don't pop my tie.
The Steelers are now on the clock. The Broncos are now on the clock.
Yeah, I've been since my early days. I've been stuck in my worldly ways. Propaganda, press, pan the camera. Please don't look at me in my face. Everybody might see my pain. Off the rail, might myself. Bored with life as aboard this plane. Steward this sex if I need help. Maybe what's your last name? Hopefully.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
About you, make me not doubt you. I will silence my brain, scream louder. Asking when I'm going myself. Couple problems, my cash ain't help. Human issues too strong for tissue. False provider, war mask by wealth. Move your body if you came here to party. If not, then pardon me. How I'm supposed to have a good time with death instructions.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
The sound of sunshine is calling me. The vibrations is all I need. All I need. All I need. Party people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people, move. Party people, I like to see you groove. This is how we do.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Deja view from a bayside view. I see black cats in the daytime too. I see black cats on the daytime news. When handcuffed, wrist and his skin turned blue. I met God once at the rendezvous and felt starstruck.
Vince, the car's outside.
Got things to do, got to make my moves. I can't miss my flight and miss you too. Boo, first class seats is overrated. Won't go, let's stay overpaid.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
My street folk stay well acquainted. Their morning is calling me. Good vibrations is all I need. All I need. All I need. Move your body if you came here to party. If not, then pardon me. How I'm supposed to have a good time with death instructions. All I see. Out the sight, I'm out in my mind. The sound.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Vibrations is all I need. All I need. All I need. Party people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people, yeah. Party people, I like to see you dance. Party people, move. Party people, I like to see you groove. This is how we do. This is how we do.
The Ravens are now on the clock. The Eagles are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.
Doing styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Got a monkey on my feet like it's common sense.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me stare like second nature. Zest disappear like second nature. On the same block like an hour later. Whole team eating but it's only right. There's a spare.
The Texans are now on the clock.
J-Hut's ugly in it. Baby 1 minute. You're looking wicked. Hey yo, I started off gentle. My stroke game mental. My lifestyle eventful. I didn't mean to offend you. Fendi belt saying I style like I'm mental. Moving wild and mental. I made another 5 this week.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
I don't even like to speak. I just tell him high and by. Slide up automatic high and die. High and die. High and die. Doing styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Got a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense.
The Bears are now on the clock.
Second nature, gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me sad like second nature. You're gonna do it, yeah, I haven't did it. I'm handling it, handy with it. Think I'ma do it, let that do it. Bang. Stick jam like what happened to it. Was it not working, bruv? Why you think I'm lurking, bruv? Creep on him, lean on him.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
They keep bopping like I ain't seen nothing. Don't make me upset. Reach for an object. Who's that in the passenger? Brown skin, got big body. In my face, on me. Money, I got that for me. You're not popping, never pop nothing. Stop bluffing. Your opinion, always destined for brilliance. Wouldn't rest on a million.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Park up, jump out, jump in. Skirt out like it's too easy. If anybody else didn't see me. Doing styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Got a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature.
The Colts are now on the clock.
Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me stare like second nature.
The Dolphins are now on the clock. The Bills are now on the clock.
It's in the genes, you know what I mean? all the types.
Man, too broke to pay attention. Man.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Man, listen. All I got is this ambition. A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. I'm like, man, listen. All I got is this ambition. A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Pain is endless. The game changed. I blame these lame pretenders. My friends and Benzes parked at the entrance. Inside, you still hear the engine. Like, ren, this is your ending. If you're offended, I dare you defend it. This rushing through my blood like the Kremlin. I'm back with a vengeance. And this is what the sound of revenge is.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Man, listen. All I got is this ambition. A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. I'm like, man, listen.
Man, listen. All I got is this ambition. A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
I talk money, I guess you understand different. Hand gestures counting till my hands blister. You can't miss us louder than Fran Drescher. Pinky rings, hand kisses, soprano. I feel like Paulie Castellano in designer stitches. Oh, I heard him say I made Rihanna. Mind your business, what kind of honor is this? I'm trying to see Madonna.
The Titans are now on the clock.
With the finest. Oh, everybody acting kind of vicious. These politicians won't let my brother visit. I'm like, man, listen. All I got is this ambition. A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. I'm like, man, listen.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
That's this ambition. A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. He's a fake baller, globe trotter, bank account $4. No comma, I know you wanna pop collars. I know you wanna pop collar.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Top dollar, yeah. She got that top dollar. Top dollar, yeah. Man, listen. All I got is this ambition. A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it. I'm like, man, listen.
The Giants are now on the clock.
A couple million make you stand different. They dropped the ball and so I ran with it.
The Browns are now on the clock.
That's it.
Rather you than me.
The Jets are now on the clock.
From Port of Miami. It's been a journey. Ain't nothing changed. A little stronger, a little wiser. Maybe a little more. Blame it on America.
I'm pulling off the lot, I bought the cash. Her future bright, don't give nobody bad. Be looking good as
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
notice that she missing all the edges. I run the game just by running with the poor attitude, they got rich calisthenics. Walking in the courtroom, sipping on the beverage. I know the judge, so I got a lot of leverage. This is a fetish. Fully loaded.
The Lions are now on the clock.
Get a dime, you never wrote a letter. Still in the box, got a rapping acapella. Kim Treasure, people with the weapon. I got it, boy, don't make me be the devil. He knocking on the door and know the password. Gave me his blessings while I'm hotter than the last verse.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Let's go, all my little military. Let's go,
Dead president.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Like Tommy Lee, I make money. On my third passport, and I got at the airport. I got Bowling Green dollars on my dollars. Busting down 100 in the bathtub. Get some house shoes.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
I got wild wounds. Get the clutching on that. Ain't no dance moves. I was posted on the stoop, hanging with my Haitians. On the news, on front pages. Ain't no relations. I was stacking being Franks and Boston. 2 times in a row. That's
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Cause they easy. I'm in the freezy. She love me like she need me. I got my Maybach flooded out with extra TVs. I make up every single day. I judge a vulture when I flip the padded face.
Dead presidents, dead presidents.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
Dead presidents. Let's go, all my little militant. Let's go, I'm innocent. Dead presidents, dead presidents. Dead presidents, dead presidents. Feds. Let's go, I'm innocent.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Got the yellow brace. Check off in my pocket like the yellow paste. Was when I was asking. Low facility, I keep it classy. Build an empire, yeah, that was my state of mind. Yeah, that was my state of mind. Keep the blocks over there, we call it Lego land.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
It's like it's Amsterdam. Boy, fresh, you know who got the trophy. 16 when I bought my first rollie. Legend in my hood, just like a never ride in the extra car. Dead presidents, dead presidents. Dead presidents, dead presidents.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Militant. Let's go, I'm innocent. Dead presidents, dead presidents. Dead presidents, dead presidents. Feds. Let's go, I'm innocent.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
I come here today to talk about how I feel, and I feel like that we are treated differently than other people, and
The Eagles are now on the clock.
just because of us doesn't mean anything to me.
It's just the way I feel. Mine's been racing so long, yeah. It's just no way to deal.
The Bills are now on the clock.
And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless. And I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me?
The Chargers are now on the clock.
Yeah, but waiting no more way to solve them. I really came up from the bottom. Struggling my mama on the last dollar. Hustling, man, I've been putting in these hours. The government been trying to take away with ours. Really all about the money and the power. I just want to see my people in power. Tell me how we gon' shape this vision. Complaining all day.
The Texans are now on the clock.
Change is gonna take commitment. Some people enslaved by their religion can't emancipate the fundamental principles. When I see through optics, transform the wisdom. Watch me use my prophets, get them on the list, and I've been on the mission. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless. And I really can't.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me? Now everybody got fights, yeah, but wouldn't know what good advice was. Till they leave him lifeless. Another mama crying, it's another crisis. Lord knows we just trying to live righteous. Are you willing just to make the sacrifices? I know we can't continue living like this, and I never sell my soul cause that's priceless. Tell me how we gon' make a living. Hustle on the block, who gon' save the children? Minutes on the plot and I'm just revealing. The media just trying to make a villain. I just take the pain and paint a picture. Voices in my head, I hear the whispers when I feel this way. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless. And I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Lord, can you help me? I said, Lord, can you help me? It's just the way I feel. Mine's been racing so long. It's just the way to deal with these problems alone. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm living on restless. I said, Lord, can you help me?
I've never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. To be lucky you help me, well. I said lucky you help me. I said lucky you help me. I said lucky you help me.
I've been rolling on the freeway, I've been riding 85. I've been thinking way too much, and I'm way too gonna drive. I got anger in my chest, I got millions on my mind, and you didn't fit the picture, so I guess you want the vibe.
LOV on my right leg, that's Gucci. Dig what I'm saying. LOV on my man, that's Poochie. Dig what I'm saying. Caught a little jet lag, but I'm golden. Yeah. We deserve Grammys and some Oscars. They deserve Whammies, they imposters. I be rolling with my project homies. It's a vibe. I just put the homie. It's a vibe. Over switch sides, it's a vibe. Yeah. I gon' do it. I gotta accept that I'm a. I pull up in several different options. That I will most ever. I shatter your dreams with this cream I make. Gotta be on the thinker. I say, what? I can't feel my toes, but ain't gon' fold up. I was in the double law when I rolled.
I've been rolling on the freeway, I've been riding 85. I've been thinking way too much, and I'm way too gonna drive. I got anger in my chest, I got millions on my mind, and you didn't fit the picture, so I guess you want the vibe. I've been rolling on the freeway, I've been riding 85. I've been thinking way too much, and I'm way too gonna drive. I got anger in my chest, I got millions on my mind, and you didn't fit the picture, so I guess you want the vibe.
Dig what I'm saying, Chanel drapes on me daily. Dig what I'm saying, sponsored by Mercedes. Dig what I'm saying, this Creek Cologne is on me, maybe. Dig what I'm saying, I'm going hard, yeah. I pop in your memory. You should be glad I'm showing you sympathy. I gave you real love out the gutter. Ever let you go, you gon' suffer from it. I gon' do it. I gotta accept that I'm a. I pull up in several different options. That I will most ever. I shatter your dreams with this cream I make. Gotta be on the thinker. I say, what? I can't feel my toes, but ain't gon' fold up. I was in the double law when I rolled. Yeah.
I feel like I should be giving up. You can't leave it, it's too much. But I'm tired of you, me on. And I don't like where this is going. And I've been stuck in all your apologies. Gave my all, but you wanted more from me. Keep your love, it doesn't feel the same. I hope it hurts you when you hear my name.
Picture me putting my city all over the map. They wasn't believers, I had to get even in mad. We coming up, pulling up, jumping all over your grass. So tell them I got a new girl. Tell them that I'm in the bank and I want all my 50s in cash. I'm tired of living check to check. I need 20 models, this is smiling in my grave, fresh to death. I've been Wu-Tang with a spectral deck, getting Yeah, I got that I gotta just get off my chest. I cannot miss it, got last on my list and you next. Take it how you want it. I ain't famous like I want it, but I think I might just skirt off. Blow the speakers and turn up. Pop up. Go to church with my shirt off. Tell the Lord that I'm here now. I've been waiting for so long. I've been patient for so long. Breaking rules like there's no laws, and I did it for a long time. If you don't like me, take a ticket. There's a long line. Nice to meet me. I think the pleasure's all mine. They've been clocking me so long, I think they lost time. Ooh, you lost. What you mean? Woo! What you mean? Woo! And now I don't trust the so what you mean? Woo! Hold up, whoa, what you mean? Woo! Hold up now. Don't know what you think, compare me to. Adrenaline popping, the blood will be leaking and running. Yeah. I do what I do, I don't care if you like it or love it. Tell all of my I got a new girl. Wait. You tell the that I'm in the bank and I want all my money in hundreds. I'm tired of living on the edge. I want it, they gon' call the feds. I just bought a cost an arm and leg. My mama told me take it back and get a job instead. Where's your common sense? Me and the devil got too much in common, I swear. Yeah. Born in the ghetto, I never had nothing to fear.